Hello everyone, and welcome to Linux Forensics here at Pentester Academy. In this video, we're going to examine some of those user history files that we collected in a previous video. So I've run my script, which I already showed you, and now I have a CSV file, and I've opened up LibreOffice, and I want to go ahead and import it. So I will click on my Histories CSV, and it will ask me what separates my fields, and they are separated by semicolons. And it gives me a preview. Everything looks okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and I will have a look at what sort of things this user John was doing. Now, as a reminder, the John user account was somehow involved in this compromise. We're not saying that John was personally involved, just that his account was used. We can look at what kind of commands have been run from that account and from other accounts as well. So here we have John's history. Now, one thing to keep in mind, unfortunately, we don't have timestamps on these commands. We just know that they were run at some point in the past. And it looks like he did some fairly typical things. He updated his system, he installed a few utilities, and here he installed Chromium, and apparently he must have used that in order to download this tool. We don't know that for certain. So he changed to the Xing Shi Quan directory, and he untarred the file. So this must have been sometime around the 5th or maybe the 9th when he came back. And what else happened? The rest of this here looks like normal user stuff. He ran an if config command, again, not necessarily unusual. Looks like he was searching for some sort of media. And he must have mounted something and performed a few commands. Again, none of this looks suspicious. In fact, you might recognize some of these commands as being used in our live response, which we did from this John account, which was, if this were an actual case, kind of a bad thing to do. All right, so now we get to some interesting things. So John ran user add on John with 2 N's. So this is something we saw previously in our modified files timeline. Then he deleted that and added it back. Most likely what happened here is that he was creating a new account, hoping to be stealthy, and he used the wrong add command for a user. He used the one that is expecting a bunch of parameters, which he probably didn't remember. So he just deleted the account and added it back. So we don't look like we have a very sophisticated attacker here. And this is kind of interesting. He copied bin true to bin false. Now, we know that we had some interesting things where it would pop up with messages saying there were system troubles, etc. And this could cause those kinds of messages. If you have a program calling bin false and it returns true, that might mess you up. The other thing to notice here is that bin false is often used as a shell for users that should never be allowed to log in. So perhaps this was an attempt to allow people to log in. Here He does an ls-l on bin false. He sets a password for the user whoopsie and for the user lightdm. This is a little bit odd because normally these users should not be allowed to log in. And at some point he copied bin bash to bin false. So again, it doesn't sound like a very sophisticated user. Probably what he did is he thought, I'm going to copy bin true, and that's going to let me log in. Maybe he tried it, and it didn't work. Now you might say, well, where's the history of him trying it? He didn't necessarily try to SU from John's account to do this. He might have tried to log in remotely, for example. Again, recall that this system has FTP and SSH installed because it's needed by the developer. So he's doing a VI on a file. Looks like he screwed it up. Tried it again. Went to Etsy. Said, what was that file called? He catted out the password file for some reason. Changed his home directory, did an ls. And then he moved John to .john in order to hide that directory. Went back to the password file, did a man on sed, tried a sed command, apparently it didn't work. Tried another sed command where he tried to change John, it looks like, to .john. He did a tail on the password file in order to see if that was successful. He ran install, probably for this rootkit. Then he ran nmap to see if it was detected. Change directories, a couple ls commands. Changed to his downloads directory, and again did some ls commands. So I suspect that he changed to his downloads directory to see if that rootkit was still visible after being installed. Also checking out his other directories, looking to see, hey, can I see that file for my new home directory? If I can't, let's try ls-a, which probably did display it. Clear the screen, and some point later, back at Xinshi Quan, looking at the README file. Perhaps he had to reinstall this for some reason. Did an nmap on localhost. And let's see if there's anything else interesting. The rest of these commands look an awful lot like things that we did during our live response. Probably was not a great idea to use this John account. We probably should have, maybe used the root account or some other account. It just randomly happened that we used the account that was involved in the compromise. So that was not a very good practice for our live response. But here you can see all of our commands that we performed as part of our live response. So from this point onward, it's likely not terribly interesting. What about this new John user? Well, here I see he did a W to see who was logged in and what they were doing. He did a cat of the password file, and he became whoopsie, and he became lightdm. Now again, these are two users that don't normally get to log in. So he was probably testing out some of the things that he had done. Well, that's all for this video. As always, if you're enjoying these videos here at Pen Tester Academy, please tell a friend. We'll see you soon.